Hello and a warm welcome to the Open Treasury podcast, your go-to source for the latest news and analysis in corporate cash and treasury management. This show is brought to you by CTMfile.com and the Treasury News Network, where treasury professionals learn and share the information that matters most. I am your host Pushpendra Mehta. In today's episode, I'll be covering 4 key topics that are shaping the landscape of corporate treasury management and beyond. First, I'll share 6 tips for crafting compelling treasury and payments content. Next, I'll dive into the expectations for more consecutive US Federal Reserve rate cuts. Then I will let you know more about Clearwater Analytics' new corporate treasury benchmarking tool. And finally, I'll apprise you of how US banks believe they are falling behind financial criminals by as much as 8 months. As always, our audience can watch videos on the CTMfile YouTube channel and explore insightful articles, interviews, and industry roundups on CTMfile.com. either by visiting the website or by following the links provided in our show notes. Let me begin today's recap with the first topic, which provides 6 tips to help treasury and payments experts as well as content creators craft engaging treasury and payments content and add value to their audience. Samuel Johnson, a prominent literary figure in 18th century England and a distinguished writer, widely believed to have conceived and produced the first modern English dictionary, remarked, "The greatest part of a writer's time is spent in reading in order to write." I couldn't agree more, as reading exposes us to different writing styles, enhances our vocabulary, and helps us become better writers. For treasury and payments experts, thought leaders, speakers, and content creators, it's essential not only to read but also to engage with webinars, podcasts, and videos to deepen their understanding of the industry. This multifaceted approach to knowledge acquisition aids in creating compelling content that resonates with audiences, advances careers, and opens new opportunities. Beyond reading, webinars, podcasts, and videos, what other practices or techniques can help you produce compelling treasury and payments content? Here are 6 vital tips to consider. First, understand your target audience. Comprehending your target audience is essential for creating exceptional content. By grasping their objectives, needs, preferences, interests, and pain points, you can develop relevant and actionable material that resonates with them. Continuing on, the second tip involves creating an engaging content outline. To build an engaging content structure, start by selecting a topic that captures your audience's interest, whether they prefer reading, watching, or listening. The next step is to create a clear outline and then fill content around it. The first task in this process is to craft a catchy title to hook your audience, then identify the relevant aspects of the topic you want to cover. Aim to establish a unique perspective or explore an ambitious idea related to the topic, then organize your main points into a logical structure. Thereafter, identify the keywords and phrases your target audience uses when searching for corporate treasury or payments information. Incorporate these strategically throughout your content to enhance discoverability. Finally, focus on crafting attention-grabbing headings and subheadings that make it easy for your audience to navigate and understand each section without feeling overwhelmed. Our third tip is craft a compelling introduction. Developing a compelling introduction is perhaps the most important part of any content piece, be it an article, speech, video, podcast, or webinar. Your introduction should immediately capture your audience's interest and draw them in, making them want to learn more or continue reading, watching, or listening. To make your introduction stand out, consider including a relevant, authentic, captivating, or intriguing anecdote, story, example, quote, or data-driven insight that ties into your main topic. It should also highlight the problem you're addressing or introduce the solution you're offering to set the stage for the rest of your content. Remember to attribute or cite the source of any quotes, stories, or statistics to ensure credibility and strengthen your argument while avoiding any claims of plagiarism. Next, let's discuss the fourth tip, which is to ensure that the content educates, informs, and adds value to your audience. The key to producing persuasive and impactful content is delivering well-researched, top-notch, meticulously edited, accurate, and engaging material that simplifies complex treasury and payments topics into an easy-to-understand format and is designed to educate, inform, and add value to your audience's understanding of the subject. By consistently providing targeted analysis and valuable perspectives, you can enhance your visibility, position yourself as a trusted resource in the corporate treasury and payment sector, forge long-term relationships with your audience, and help them make informed decisions. The fifth tip to consider is power your content with visuals. People are more likely to engage with content that integrates visual elements. By incorporating images, graphs, charts, infographic, presentations, or videos, treasury and payments leaders and their teams can more easily grasp and act on your content's insights. Moreover, adding visuals to your content also fosters information retention and increases engagement, making your content more shareable across your audience's networks and social media platforms. And now for the sixth and the final tip. Guide your audience to the next step with the desired call to action or CTA. No high-quality content is complete without prompting your audience to take action. Whether you want them to download a white paper, report, or ebook, use brief trigger words or phrases that encourages immediate engagement. Creating a sense of urgency with examples like download the white paper today, exclusive insights await, immediate access to the latest data, your report is just a click away, or limited time offer, get your free ebook today. Remember, effective content creation is about building connections, strengthening relationships, and driving action, and a catchy CTA or call to action is vital for bolstering conversion rates. Now let's turn to the second topic, which focuses on expectations for more consecutive US Federal Reserve rate cuts. Last week, the US Federal Reserve announced a cut to its benchmark policy rate by 50 basis points, bringing it down to a range of 4.75% to 5%. This cut was larger than the 25 basis points reduction that economists at Goldman Sachs Research had anticipated. David Merrickle, the chief US economist at Goldman Sachs, weighed in on the decision, stating, "We see 50 basis points as the right move in light of the good inflation news and the risk of further labor market softening." Interestingly, the Fed leadership pushed through this larger cut despite indications from many participants that they preferred a smaller adjustment based on their submissions to the central bank's economic projections, often referred to as the dot plot. Merrickle further explained the rationale for the larger cut and the key theme of the meeting was a shift in focus from inflation risks to employment risks in light of the recent softening in the labor market data. So what does this mean for future rate cuts? According to Goldman Sachs Research, the urgency reflected in the 50 basis point cut, along with the accelerated pace of cuts that most participants have projected for 2025, indicates a longer series of consecutive cuts is the most likely path. Their economists have revised their Fed forecast, predicting a longer string of consecutive 25 basis point cuts from November 2024 through June 2025. By that time, they expect the funds rate to reach their terminal rate forecast of 3.25% to 3.5%. In a separate note to clients, Nikhil Choraria, head of European flow rates trading, commented on the Fed's recent actions. He described a larger than expected cut as a clear statement of intent that the Fed does not want to be behind the curve. He pointed out that the recent correction in the stock market and the financial markets' expectations of rate cuts suggest that markets believe policymakers might have been lagging behind. The Fed's dot plot of economic projections also indicates that most officials expect a total of 100 basis points of cuts this year, with another 1% of rate cuts anticipated in 2025. However, Choraria cautioned that this projection is conditional, especially considering the high uncertainty due to the upcoming US election in November, intensified geopolitical risks, and evolving trade tariffs that could impact the economy. Next up is the third news story, which is about Clearwater Analytics launching a powerful corporate treasury benchmarking solution. Clearwater Analytics, known for its SaaS-based investment management, accounting, reporting, and analytics solution, has introduced a peer benchmarking solution, Clearwater Insights, aimed specifically at CFOs and treasury teams. Clearwater Insights allows users to conduct benchmarking analysis across Clearwater's daily investment data portfolio, enhancing decision-making and return optimization. According to a statement from the company, teams utilizing insights will benefit from quickly visualizing how they compare to fully customizable peer cohorts, such as the Clearwater Corporate Treasury Index, comprised of over 400 portfolios. With peer benchmarking functionality, they can immediately narrow their peer group to companies that resemble and invest like them, allowing them to have confidence in knowing what excellence looks like. This solution is designed to address the pressing need for a complete picture of industry performance metrics, accuracy, and transparency. This strategic offering answers the critical question, what is considered a good return, by spotting performance trends across portfolios within the Clearwater client community. Benefits include the ability to conduct objective analysis and comprehensive benchmarking, including key metrics such as book yield, total return duration, and asset allocation against industry benchmarks. Moving on to the fourth and final news story. US banks believe they're 8 months behind financial criminals, with the largest institutions believing the gap is as wide as 23 months, according to research from RedCompass Labs. Despite the 8 months head start, 75% of banks feel confident they can close this gap, and 25% feel they could maybe catch up. The question is how they plan to do so. The research reveals how banks are drastically underestimating criminals, with respondents believing that criminals take an average of 4 months to adapt after learning a new financial crime is being detected. In reality, cybercriminals can exploit newly discovered vulnerabilities within days or even hours. The research, Financial Crime Detection: What Holds Banks Back, includes findings from a survey of 300 senior payment professionals at US banks about how financial services are addressing the multi-trillion-dollar financial crime epidemic and why only 1% of financial crimes are brought to justice. The survey found that banks' resources are stretched across multiple types of financial crime as they grapple to keep up with emerging crimes, some of which are now as big a focus as the traditionally bigger ones. For instance, pig butchering has become a significant concern, with 27% of banks prioritizing these scams, on par with drug trafficking at 28%. The research also revealed that proliferation financing, drug trafficking, and cybercrime are the 3 most difficult crimes for banks to detect, citing a poor understanding of the personas involved as a common reason as to why. The research also found that internal efficiencies are holding banks back. Over a quarter of banks blame internal governance, 26% cite an overcomplicated process, and 24% say updating fraud models is not a priority. Banks said the implementation of new technology, streamlining internal processes, and faster vendor support will help them catch up with the criminal networks. However, they are divided over artificial intelligence, or AI. More than half of banks believe that criminals' use of AI will make it more difficult to detect financial crimes, but just under a third of banks believe that their use of AI will ease the detection of financial crimes. Well, we've come to the end of today's episode. A big thank you to our incredible CTMfile audience for joining us for this edition of the Open Treasury podcast. We truly appreciate you taking the time to tune in. Please subscribe to our podcast and check out the show notes for links to the articles discussed. Thank you once again, and have a fabulous week ahead. This podcast is provided for information purposes only, and statements made by CTMfile or guests on this podcast are not intended as legal, business, or consulting advice. For more information, visit ctmfile.com.